today. The aim here is to give you an overview of the main results, and the idea would be for you to jump in at any time if you have any question. Charlotte is with me today online. Hello, Charlotte. And she will make sure to see all your comments or questions in the feed. So if you do not feel like to speak out, you can still write in the feed. And that's it. Do you have any question right now, or is it okay? Okay, great. So let's go. So you will see that the session, so we will have about 45 minutes together. Again, the idea is for you to ask any question that you might have during the session. But of course, if you want to keep your questions for the end, we will make sure to keep 5 to 10 minutes at the end, so you can also ask specific questions. For the 40 minutes, you will see that the session is quite interactive. We have videos, we have audios, and Charlotte will make sure also to send the link in the feed, so you guys can also go on the website of Youth Talks and see for yourself if you need so. All right. So the idea of Youth Talks was to consult young people worldwide to better understand what they need, and especially what they need to learn in order to make sure that we have a better future, a more sustainable future. You know, there is a lot of surveys these days, youth surveys on many topics. But what is very, very specific about Youth Talks is the fact that we asked young people open-ended questions, meaning that these young people did not have to pick a box. We did not impose any mindset on them. They could answer whatever they wanted. And that was very important for us in order, again, not to impose our maybe older mindset and make sure that we hear their true voices. So this is what makes Youth Talk specific again, the fact that we are global, you will see. By the way, we conducted that consultation in 6 different languages. We ask, as I've just mentioned, open-ended questions, and we use artificial intelligence tools to analyze all these answers, because you will see that we collected many answers from these young people around the world, coming from all over the world. So we use, I'm not sure if you are familiar with this, but we use natural language processing, these kind of AI tools, to make clusters emerge out of this data. So in terms of the key performance indicators, we had for that first edition, because you have to keep in mind that Youth Talks aim to be a continuous initiative, and that's very important, and I will explain this further in a couple of minutes. But for this first edition of Youth Talks, with specific questions that I will also show you, we had 45,000 participants coming from 212 countries and territories. Also, now we have almost 3,000 ambassadors, I think, Charlotte, right? These ambassadors are young people who freely registered on our website to support the initiative and to share the consultation with their peers in their own communities. Out of these 45,000 young people participating in the survey, we were able to collect about 1 million ideas coming from them. But they were also able to not only write answers, but they could also record their voices or even upload images. Just so you know, we targeted the 15 to 29-year-olds for that consultation. In terms of the participation per geographical zones, here what you can see maybe is the number of young people per different regions. As you can see, we had many young people coming from all the regions in the world. Now, what I need you to keep in mind is the fact that in Europe, we were not able to have many young people coming from Russia or from Eastern Europe. So when you will see, because for the rest of the presentation, I will keep the same geographical zones to show you the results. So when I will show you Europe, you have to keep in mind that it's mainly Northern Europe, Southern Europe, and Western Europe. Also, when I will mention East Asia and the Pacific, it does not include so much Australia, even though we had some people coming from Australia, but the weight of China here is very, very important. So when I will mention this region, the dark blue region that you can see on the map right now, it will mainly mean China and other countries, southern other countries, but not the Australia. I'm telling you this because you will appreciate all along the presentation the fact that there is an evident dichotomy between the Western world and the other regions of the world. This is a table. I wish not to tell you much about this, just so you can compare maybe what we achieved with Youth Talks in terms of the number of participants, the number of countries, and the type of questions that we asked with other previous initiatives from the UN, the World Economic Forum, Deloitte, the European Parliament, etc. So now Youth Talks is the largest ever youth consultation, and we are very, very happy about this, of course. Now, the vision of Youth Talks, of course, is to make sure that young people's voices are heard and have an impact on shaping a sustainable future and new educational systems. And this is, of course, the main mission. And you will see how we collect and then how we transform and produce different deliverables for other organizations, already existing organizations, so they can be fed by what we collect and what we collect from these young people, so they can affect, it can influence their decisions, so we can change the world with young people, so we can co-design this new world and these new educational systems with young people. Now, before going further, and I mean, we know all the time we have the same kind of questions, like how you guys did you manage to reach out to all these young people? So if you allow me, I would like to spend like 2 or 3 minutes just giving you the main ingredients that we had to use, that we effectively used to make sure that we reach out to all these young people. After that, of course, I will give you the main results. So first of all, we succeeded to do so thanks to our partners. We now have almost 60 partners, including, of course, educational institutions, youth organizations, students' associations, etc. So here you have the list of our partners. In pink, you can see our special collaborations, of course, with the Learning Planet Institute and Learning Planet Festival right now, the UN Global Compact, and especially the Prime Chapter and the Club of Rome, for example. The second ingredient was the narrative. It was very important for us to be authentic, to make sure that young people understand what we were trying to do and what was the main idea behind the questions, because you have to keep in mind that it took them in average 10 minutes to answer the questions, because these are open-ended questions, right? So you cannot do that so fast. So the narrative was very important for them to be convinced that it's worth it to take the time to answer our questions. It seems a bit maybe not very important at first, but then we realized that the brand was so important, because of course we pushed a lot of ads on social media, Instagram. We tried a bit on TikTok, but doesn't work much, honestly. But on Facebook, on Instagram, we made sure that young people knew about the initiative all over the world. And the brand itself, with specific colors, making sure that the Gen Z was attracted to that brand, it was very, very important. And last but not least, of course, the ambassadors. So these guys, so we made sure to provide these ambassadors ambassador kits, so they were able to organize activities in their own community. So it was not just about them pushing the survey and pushing the consultation. It was really about them to, it was about organizing events, having trainings, these kind of things. So we really animate that community, and we have her name is Chloe, in fact, and she's in charge of animating the ambassador network. And it's a lot of work, and she manages a lot of different WhatsApp groups, by the way. So that was very important. Here, I will not spend much time on this, but just so you can see the pictures of these young people. In China, for example, these are our ambassadors in China. In Uganda also, we had Elizabeth. She ran the WhatsApp group for ambassadors in Uganda. She organizes debates all the time, online debates and on-site debates. Also Francis in Nigeria. So he created that shirt by himself. Like, we didn't ask anything. We didn't give him like money. It was all by himself that he achieved this, and he also organizes a lot of events there. In Guinea, of course, they organized a radio stand so people can express themselves. This was in France. Leo presented the youth talks and youth talk results at Toulouse Business School. In Democratic Republic of Congo, they also organized activity. That one I like because you can see the slides that we provide this ambassador to present the results of youth talks in Ivory Coast. So we created this small deck of slides so these young people could in fact engage and really present themselves, the results to their own communities. In the USA, of course, Lebanon, etc., etc. I would like to take a pause here just to make sure that you don't have questions at that point. Charlotte, please feel free to let me know if we have some question in the chat, as I cannot see the chat.
No, we don't have any for now. Just so you know, there's a lot of ambassadors that are with us in this session today.
Oh, great. Welcome to our ambassadors. We are so proud of you guys. Thank you very much for being with us. Okay, great. About the Youth Talks results. All right. So before going further, I think it's important to tell you more about the distribution of participants by segment, and I will zoom in here. So in terms of gender, it was quite balanced. In fact, we had like half female, half male, with of course some non-binary and others that didn't wish to answer that question. In terms of the current situation, you see that most of the young people answering our questions are studying. It's about 57% of them. Then you have people studying and working in parallel, young people working. So again, as a reminder, we targeted young people between 15 and 29. I don't have a current activity, 7%, and then others. Here you have the year of birth. Most of them were between 19 to 24, which means that we specifically targeted the Gen Z, and it was on purpose, especially when we designed the brand. In terms of the parents' highest level of education, you see that for most of the respondents, their parents have at least bachelor's or equivalent. And in terms of the level of education of these young people, completed or in progress, of course, most of them were at the bachelor. And of course, the idea for the next edition, and you know, I like to say that even though Youth Talks is the largest youth consultation ever at that point, with the 45,000 participants, in fact, it's 46,000 participants. What we wish for the second edition is at least 1 million young people. And we will create local chapters, like Youth Talk chapters, to make sure to reach out also to the young people who are not able to go to school, because it's very important for us to be representative, like globally, and make sure that we also hear the voices of those who unfortunately cannot go to school for some reasons. And last but not least, here you have the perceived income scale. This measure is often biased, but what we can appreciate and see here is the fact that it's quite balanced for the sample that we have right now. All right. About the questions that we asked, let me open this. So it went like this. So young people landed on this page, basically, with a welcome. And then, getting started, the first question that we asked was the country or territory where I grew up. They could pick one. I do not wish to tell you more about this second question, but just keep in mind that it was a way for us to double check that our sample were representative. Because yes, our samples are representative, so what I will tell you today, you can generalize theoretically. Then we have a first block on the future. When I think about the future, what I wish for myself, for the world. So young people were able to enumerate, right? They didn't have to make like very extensive sentences, but they could also upload videos or record their voices. So here, if I want to tell something, then I do like that. When I think about the future, what worries me for myself and then for the world, and what collective issues do we need to address to build the future I want? So this was the first block. Then the purpose here with the second block was to make sure that they landed a bit. Okay, this is the future you wish for. Great. But then to build this future, what would you be ready to give up and what would you not be ready to give up and why? So that was very important. And then the block on education. And you see here that the question is very simple. The concepts, the terms are very simple. To build this desired future, what we must all learn at school is and in life is. We made that dichotomy on purpose because we didn't want people to tell us afterwards, yeah, you know, they answered that for the school, for the university, but, you know, they meant in life. We wanted to make sure to collect answers regarding the school. Then, last but not least, this closing question, which is, what question would you like to ask young people around the world? And then, of course, the segmentation questions. I would like to tell you here that at first the intention was to only ask questions about education. But then, working with the scientific committee, I will tell you more about the scientific committee in a couple of minutes, but working with them, we realized that it was not fair from us to ask specific questions on education because, hey, when you enter university, what would you like to learn? Like, how would you like to learn this? What about pedagogy? Like, it's very complicated for them. So we made that bet. Maybe it wasn't the best one, but this is what we thought, that asking more general questions would be better for them to express themselves. And it was then our job to transform the information that they would give us into something usable to transform educational system. All right, going back to the presentation. Now, I will not have time to go through the 11 questions, of course, so I will present you like 5, 6, or 7 of them right now. We have, of course, graphics, but the graphs, sorry, but also videos you will see. So the first question, when I think about the future, what I wish for myself. If you go on the website of Youth Talks, and by the way, what you see right now is the website itself. If you go on the website, you click on results, and you will discover these different tools so you can explore the results of the consultation. One of these tools is called the question box. So for that first question, for example, you will see the number of contributions that we collected for that question specifically, and then the different themes that young people discussed. Here you have the global learning. I will not go through it. But I would like to show you here. I talked about the clusters and the meta-clusters out of this data. So using these AI tools, we made sure to make emerge again the clusters, which are the small bubbles that you can see here. And we regrouped these clusters into meta-clusters following a very specific scientific process. And I can answer questions about this if you are interested. But we clustered these clusters into meta-clusters, which are the big bubbles that you can see here. What you will be able to do also on the website on your spare time, is to compare regions between them. Here you will find 17 different regions, which are the different regions of the UN. So for example, if I compare Western Europe here with, for example, Western Africa, you will see that the priorities of young people are very different in these different regions. Okay, so, and then after that you have more specific testimonies because the algorithms were able to pick these more like longer and with more arguments testimonies, and then some interviews because, and I will show some of them to you, we had a team traveling the world asking these questions to young people. Now, going back to just the first question, when I think about the future, what I wish for myself. So let's first analyze this slide. You see the Earth in back stage here, and in front you will have the different graphs according to the different regions. And what you can see is the 5 top priorities for the young people of these different regions. So what we see here is that in the Western world, because if you remember well, I told you that Europe and North America was basically representative of the Western world, what we see appear is a vocabulary around happiness and personal happiness. Then they will talk in the US, for example, about financial situation, which is not the case in Europe. They will talk about interpersonal and social life. But then compared to the other regions, the first priority is about individual success. Now, what you will like at that point probably is to open these meta clusters. So if I go a bit down, and by the way, what you see right now is the dynamic report, which is also online. So if I open these meta clusters, you will see personal happiness here. So they talked about, and this is basically what they said, because remember, they could enumerate things. So they talk about joy, live a good and decent life, have a full life, be lucky, have hope, have fun. But in terms of individual success, it was more about, the success, the successful careers, succeed academically, make my parent proud, excel in life, etc., etc. So I could go through all the meta clusters. Unfortunately, I will let you do that on your own. But just so you know, and you appreciate this dichotomy between the West and the rest of the world. Let me show you now 1 or 2 maybe videos about that question. So again, the question was, when I think about the future, what I wish for myself. We have Annabelle from Ivory Coast.
Beaucoup de gens ont le souhait de changer, beaucoup de gens ont le souhait d'évoluer, c'est-à-dire d'apprendre, de devenir de nouvelles personnes. Moi, j'ai le souhait de rester la même personne, avec les mêmes valeurs, de toujours défendre les causes que je défends, le féminisme, la liberté de chaque individu, d'être qui il a envie d'être, la liberté de jouir de ses droits humains. Et je ne veux pas changer ça. Je n'ai pas envie de tomber dans un confort où je vais oublier en fait la réalité des autres. J'ai envie de rester cette même personne engagée qui se soucie des autres.
Or maybe Sebastian here from South Africa.
Maybe my main hope for myself is to make an impact in this world. I mean, I try and be a very positive person, share positive energies, positive vibes, and yeah, I hope to connect everyone a little bit, you know, make everyone have a bit of a positive mindset. I mean, you know, what bad could it do to be positive? And yeah, I want to make a good impact on the world. I think that's my hope, is to make a good impact on this world, to make a memorable impact, and to maybe change a few people who are straying in a wrong direction, if I can put it like that. If I can help people find the path a bit more, that would be very nice, I think. And
all right. Do we have any question at the moment, Charlotte?
Yes, we do. We have Edouard Stevenet, who says that what you're talking about is impressive. And he's asking if there is at any moment during the campaign where we pivoted the strategy, the focus point of use talks, based on the reaction and responses of the participants.
Is there, sorry, I cannot hear you well. Is there any moment, what?
Oh, sorry. Is there any moment during the campaign where we pivoted the strategy of news talks based on the reaction and responses of the participants?
That's a good question. Thank you for that. What we did in terms of pivoting, when we realized the success that we had at the time, we also realized that we could, of course, feed the universities and educational institutions in general, but we could also feed other type of stakeholders. Like the companies, governments, political institutions, the media, etc., etc. But in terms of the questions that we ask, and for the rest of the project, we didn't change much because it was a bit too late. I hope I answer your question. Do we have any other question, Charlotte?
Yes, sorry. I was reading the chat. There is also someone that asked about bias. This is from Javin Hari. He's asking, how do you go about uncovering bias in your survey? He knows that even if he's asking this because even if there was a lot of young people answering, how are we sure that they were not coming from the same backgrounds and were not having the same state of mind?
Yeah, of course. So it is about the representativity of the samples, in fact. So it's about making sure that we're representative in our samples and then results. That's a good question. So it was kind of an obsession from the beginning of the project, my obsession. What we used, in fact, in terms of the scientific process of this is massive collective intelligence consultation. If you look at the literature, by the way, that literature mainly comes from the MIT. If you look at the literature, theoretically, you are not, it's not mandatory to be representative, because when you run that kind of initiative, the idea would be to collect the answers from engaged people, and in our case, engaged young people, because if you are here to change the world, then you will probably do it with people that are willing to do it. However, I knew that we would have that kind of questions, and also not only coming from the scientific committee, academic community, but also from the journalists. So I still wanted to make sure that we had representative samples. We tried to work with Gallup, and the idea was to ask them to ask our questions in 4 different countries, 2 representative samples, and to do the same work ourselves, and then to compare, right, the answers coming from the Gallup's samples and our own samples. Unfortunately, as you can imagine, it was a bit risky for them, because if the answer was that we were representative as they were, then not a good news for their business, basically. So we could not close the deal. So what we decided to do is to be a bit smart about that, and we decided to compare ourselves some answers. Let me explain myself here. Some of the Gallup's studies are freely available online, right? So we took one of them, a very recent one on education, and we took one of their questions, and we decided to ask the exact same question as they did in the same countries. And the idea was to, after the consultation, was to compare our results with theirs. So this is exactly what we did, and it was the second questions. When I showed you the questions, I showed you one, it was a closed-ended questions. So we decided to do so, and what we found is that our samples are representative. So that was honestly the best news in June, last June. So of course it's not perfect, it's never perfect, and I think we can even do better for the next edition. And I hope maybe we can work with one of these service company, let's see. But for that first edition, it was a way to do it ourselves, and it proves right, and it proves that our samples, and if you look at the scientific literature, you will see that I mean, theoretically, when your samples are big enough, they are representative by nature, organically, which means that, yeah, I mean, you can extend your conclusions to the general population. Okay, I will continue, Charlotte, on that point and maybe take other questions in a couple of minutes.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Okay, so second question, when I think about the future, what I wish for the world. So remember, the other one was what I wish for myself, and then it's what I wish for the world. When we ask them what they wish for the world, in green here, what is striking is the fact that all of them talk about peace. I have been repeating this yesterday and the day before. Some people say, hey, young people always talk about peace. That's not new. If it's not new, then maybe let's be a bit humble and ask ourselves what we do bad, because maybe we can improve some things. But yeah, and it is even before the environmental protection. Environmental protection here is in purple, right? So in Europe, for example, if I zoom here in Europe, you will see that peace and environmental protection is quite equal. Then you have human values and virtues, equality, and a fairer economic system. This concept of human values here comes back at almost every question, and you will see that it also part of the big surprise that we had regarding specifically one question. We will discuss that in a couple of minutes again. But then, yes, so the peace is very important. Of course, if you look at other regions like in the Middle East, peace is like, of course. By the way, we conducted that consultation between November 2022 and June 2023. So the war over there didn't start at the time, wasn't started at the time. Here we have the peace as a priority, then human values and virtues, and then 11% only the environmental protection. If we look, of course, here, Sub-Saharan Africa, again, the environment, it's only 14%. Peace first, and then again, human values and virtues. If you want to open these meta-clusters, you will be able to do so on the website. Let's watch Joseph maybe for that one. That's a good resume, that's a good sum up.
À l'échelle du monde, je voudrais qu'on soit moins individualiste, que la réussite avec un grand R ne se base pas forcément sur la sienne, mais enfin, sur celle des individus, mais sur celle d'une collectivité. Qu'on arrive à trouver un moyen, mais je ne l'ai pas. Si vous pensez trouver la vérité dans cette vidéo, vous pouvez switcher. C'est trouver le moyen de arrêter de vouloir faire du blé tout le temps, trouver un système économique autour d'une bonheur, d'une richesse qui ne serait pas pécuniaire, je sais pas. Et qu'on arrive à être... quand je suis optimiste, je me dis qu'un jour on va trouver un moyen de moins consommer la ressource de la planète. Et quand je suis pessimiste, je me dis qu'on n'y arrivera pas et que la seule manière, ce serait qu'on soit moins. Voilà.
All right. When I think about the future, what worries me for myself, here they will talk, in North America and Europe, they will talk about the financial situation, while in other places in the world, they will talk about failure. And if you open that box, the box of the failure, you will see, and it's quite related to the other question, the failure to achieve personal goal, dreams and goal, failure to achieve success, failure to be fulfilled and reach full potential. So it's about fulfillment and full potential in other regions, while in the Western world, they will definitely prioritize the financial situation, as you can see. And if you open that box, they will talk about not making ends meet. They will talk about buying a house, having a car, that kind of considerations. All right. Here we have maybe Maxisol in South Africa. as a good summary.
My biggest fears is probably failure. Not in a sense of failure of not having money or failure of not living long. It's just failure of not becoming anything substantive besides, your job title. I fear that I am going to end up like most of black people, which is pretty much nothing, Perhaps I would have longed for, in the future, to see myself as making a huge contribution to society in ways in which is not necessarily tangible. My biggest fears.
I would say the one thing that worries me for myself would be not living up to my full potential, not doing the things that I wish to do before I leave. You understand? That is what worries me. Not being able to truly show who I am, what I'm capable of, and how I can help other people with my gifts. If I'm not able to do that fully, I think, that would hurt a bit. But
This is an example of the audio. I told you that they could record themselves instead of writing answers. So this was one of the examples. Time is running really fast, so I'm not sure I'm able to do a really big zoom on the technology. But just so you know, we had a scientific committee, but we also work with a company, a civic tech company, and the research center in Ria. For the methodology, and I will go back to the other questions right away. But I wanted to make that parenthesis. We had the scientific committee composed of research, qualitative researcher, quantitative researcher, as well as the authority in terms of AI, natural language processing in France, to make sure that we did things properly and we were as robust as possible. Here, you remember that we conducted the survey in different languages. So you have the Arabic example on the right here. And just so you keep that in mind, how it works, how do we cluster? Clustering 101. First, we identify distinct clusters of themes and their centroids. So it's all about, it's like every answer is a small dot. And then the algorithm will regroup these different dots between different boxes, assigning each verbatim, so each answer with their closest cluster, so other similar verbatims. And then we worked with the researchers to make these meta-clusters, so to regroup these clusters into meta-clusters. You have to keep in mind that it was a very iterative process, working with the machine and then with the human eye, right? So going back and forth from what the machine was able to do and then what we were able to do to regroup these clusters. Back to the question, I will not go through the question number 4, question number 5. What collective issues do we need to address? That I would like to discuss a bit, because here, as you will see, young people with this question will talk and will think about the environment, which was not the case when we asked them, what do you wish for the world? For the world, it's all about peace, but then when they think about the issues, and specifically, collective issues, then they will talk about environmental issues. If I open maybe here in North America, environmental issues, discrimination, and inequalities. Here, of course, you can think of the woke movement in the US, which seems to appear here, then economic issues. And what we called, and it was not a good name retrospectively, but individualism paradox. And here, let me just open that box. In this box, individualism paradox, you will find lack of cooperation, lack of mutual listening, lack of respect, intolerance, selfishness, love issues, lack of kindness, lack of sense of community. So here what we see is again these human values coming up. If we look at, for example, the Middle East, it's priority number 2. First, the environment, 19%, then 17%, individualism paradox, what I just told you, obsolescence of the education system, of course, number 3. This does not appear in Europe or in the US, Canada, etc. In sub-Saharan Africa, they will talk about the environment, 21%, and then again, individualism paradox, which is the lack of in fact, it's the lack of collective agency, basically. All right, going very fast here. Question number 6, to build this desired future, I would be ready to give up the following thing. So remember here, we made sure to make them landed. Yes, you want that future, but what are you willing to give up? In Europe here, 40% of them declare that they are willing to give up their lifestyle, not only activities, but material consumption. Into material consumption, you will have, let me show you, you will have material consumption, food and drink, meat, for example, mass consumption, cars, plastic, fashion, clothes, electric devices, technology, house, animal products, paper, etc. Right? The activities are more the activities that we do as, for example, their hobbies. If you open North America, first of all, they talk about personal resources. I believe because of this, the local culture of social involvement, volunteering. So because in these meta-clusters, we have mainly money and time. So in North America, they're willing to give basically money and time to make sure that we're doing better. And then you will have the material consumption. In other parts of the world, they talk about their activities. And then, for example, here in sub-Saharan Africa, it will be first moral flows. So what they're willing to give up are their moral flows. If we open that box, I believe many of you would like to open that box. Let me check if I can find them. The moral flows. So laziness and procrastination, selfishness, hate and anger, fears, pride, insecurities, prejudices, and vices, etc. So that's quite interesting here. What is even more interesting is when you compare these results with what they are not willing to give up. Let me go through this. If you compare with what they are not willing to give up, you will see emerge very important tensions here within countries, within regions, and between regions. Here, what are you not willing to give up? In North America and in Europe, they are not willing to give up, like the priority, when you ask the question, 24% of them will mention material consumption, right? In Europe, it's 26%. So if you remember well, we have 40% of them willing to give up material consumption, which is amazing. But then 26 of them are not so willing to do so. When we look at the verbatims more deeply, what we realize is that they're not willing to do so because they feel like the country, the government should do better, then the city should do better, their building, the community should do better, and then it will be their turn to do so and to deprive themselves from this material consumption. But they feel like they are not the one to wear that burden by themselves, which can make sense. If you look at the other regions of the world, there is quite a dichotomy here again. Young people are not willing to give up, for example, here in the Middle East, personal values and virtues. So they will never talk about material consumption. They will talk about personal values and virtues, family and loved ones, personal ambitions, etc. So that's quite striking. I do not wish to make an interpretation here because it's not for me to do so. I'm not a sociologist, but when you ask people what are you not willing to give up, and they immediately answer material consumption, versus in other places they think about their loved ones and beliefs and identity, maybe there is something we need to relearn, especially in the Western world at some point. I will stop there. Let me maybe hear question 7. Maybe we can see what Wahel has to say in terms of what he's willing to give up. He comes from Lebanon.
To sacrifice, and at this point in my life, the thing that I will never sacrifice is like freedom, and I would definitely sacrifice money for it. So for example, if you tell me that there's something that will how do we say, like it will close on me for exchange of like I don't know, X number of money, I will definitely go for the freedom instead of money.
Right. And then the last but not least, and I will have to stop here unfortunately, but again I invite you to go on the website and discover the result by yourself. And I will ask your attention here because this question was explicitly related to education, and it was probably the most striking results of the consultation. The question was, to build the desired future, what we must all learn at school is. And as you can see here, all of them, except here, East Asia, which is, I told you, China, basically. But everywhere else, they talked about personal values and virtues. And if we open that box, the box of personal values and virtues, you will see respect, solidarity, open-mindedness, empathy, even love, etc. And if you look at the other priorities, and let me open Europe here, you will see personal values and virtues first. Second, environmental protection. Third, practical life skills, which are cooking skills, surviving skills, so very, very practical. Then interpersonal and teamwork skills, and finally social causes, right? They do not talk about traditional disciplines like anywhere in the world. They do not talk about engineering, mathematics, management, finance, economics. It's like they scream to us something, and we believe that we need to listen to this. These people, these young people, what they want is to relearn how to live together, to be able to communicate well, and to go maybe in the same direction. Is it maybe the lack of religion, which used to give us a foundation of values? Is it related to social media and isolation due to social media? Is it related to the pandemic also? That I cannot say, but what I can tell you is that we definitely need to change something in our educational system, that's for sure. And these young people, with very simple terms and simple words, like, of course, that they are not philosophers, right? But they are trying to make us see that something is wrong, and that we think we might. I think we need to go back to humanity and nature. We need to reconnect in some way, and this is what they're trying to tell us. All right, I will let you discover the videos on this. I would like to end my talk with maybe these slides and the next one. So Youth Talks, you understand, is a continuous initiative to go from data to impact. This was the first edition. You can see here on the slide. We will launch in a couple of weeks, months, debates on AI, an online debate on AI. So young people will be able to talk about AI online. We will collect that information and we will analyze it the same way we did as for the consultation, in fact, using the same AI tools. We will run another debate, second part of the year, on the future of education, probably, and then another consultation, etc., etc. And all this is designed to feed initiatives like the Planetizen University, and I will let François in the next session tell you more about this new concept, of course. I will stop there. As I mentioned, please look for our debate on AI. Follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram. Charlotte will put that link on the feed. I'm not sure I have time to take questions, unfortunately. I'm so sorry about this. I'm looking at the organizers. They tell me no. So we will have to stop here. Thank you for your attention. You can always reach out to me whenever you want. If you want to discuss that further, you will find my contact on the website, on the Youth Talks website. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed that session, and I hope to speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.